All right, welcome everyone, and thanks so much for being here with us today. My name is Bradley Bringardner, and I am the Manager of Talent Outreach and Engagement here at GLI. One of GLI's missions is to grow our regional economy. As the convener in the business community, we do this in several different ways. And by being here with us today, we aim for you to connect and grow your own circle of contacts and grow your own pool of knowledge. Many job seekers experience one or more barriers to employment during their careers. Our region is home to a vast ecosystem of workforce providers that offer quality services and resources to help alleviate and eliminate barriers to work. The goal of today is twofold. First, we will be discussing best practices while exploring how your company can adopt innovative solutions to address barriers to work. And second, we hope that the relationships you form today spur ongoing dialogue and will help you broaden and diversify your talent pipelines with quality candidates. Before we get started with our programming, I want to thank our CEO Council sponsors, Brown Forman, Humana, Kindred Healthcare, LG&E, Norton Healthcare, and PNC. I would also like to thank our series supporting sponsor, Focal Point Business and Training Excellence of Kentucky, as well as our series presenting sponsor, HR Affiliates. The work we do as a chamber is dependent on the participation of our business community. HR Affiliates has been a tremendous advocate for GLI in our region. From leading our ambassador program to engaging with this series as presenting sponsor, they have continually stayed highly involved in the work that we do. With this being said, I would like to introduce Jennifer Wheatley, President of HR Affiliates. Jennifer, take it away.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. As Brad said, we are a huge proponent of GLI, and we're so proud to sponsor today's event as well as the Workforce Connections series. So thanks again for being here. This is definitely a topic that is near and dear to our hearts, and we know with our own clients and with all employers, they're really struggling to find employees to fill many of those entry-level positions that you have. So, there's many barriers that people face, and we see it all the time with transportation issues, childcare issues, drug testing programs at employers. So overcoming these barriers is really key for employers to succeed. And we're just excited to be able to bring this program to you today. And as Bradley mentioned, we hope that you'll learn some best practices that you can take back to your organizations and implement some of those innovative solutions. I know people can get really creative and when we're working through these things, and hopefully by implementing some of these things, you'll be able to reduce your turnover, increase that applicant pool that we all want to do, and ultimately just be able to grow your business. So again, thank you, GLI. Thank you for doing this today. And with that, I would like to introduce our speaker. And I didn't have a chance to make sure I pronounced, Sarah, your name right, so bear with me. I would like to introduce you, though, to Sarah Kalick. Is that right?
Well done.
Okay. Sarah is the Executive Director of the Good Jobs Institute, whose mission is really to help companies thrive by creating good jobs. She builds partnerships with companies looking to implement the good job strategy and creates tools and resources to inspire and guide any organization that wants to transform from bad jobs to good jobs. Sarah graduated magna cum laude with a degree in social studies from Harvard. She received her MBA from MIT Sloan School of Management, where she studied sustainable operations and won the Seeley Scholarship for Leadership, Community Contribution, and Academic Achievement. So with that, I'm going to now turn it over to Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Jennifer and Bradley. It is fantastic to be with you all today. I'm enjoying some of your backgrounds, including someone who had some snow in their background. I'm based in Boston and we have a foot plus and it's still coming down. So I'm just glad we've got power. Very excited to be with you today. I'm just going to pop up my presentation. Great. Awesome. So As Jennifer mentioned, my name is Sarah Kallick, and I am the Executive Director of the Good Jobs Institute. We are a nonprofit based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and our mission is to help companies thrive by creating good jobs. So we work directly with companies who typically have a large entry-level or low-wage workforce in retail, restaurants, hospitality, call centers, senior living. And we help them look at their operations and their job design and find ways to really drive improvements there that can drive higher pay, better schedules, better benefits for those frontline workers. It's really an exciting thing to do. We love working with companies. Our work is based on this book, The Good Job Strategy, by my colleague Zeynep Ton, who is a professor at MIT Sloan. So we do this work with companies, and then we build tools and we try to share everything we learn with as many people as we can. So that's one of the reasons I'm thrilled to be here today. So you all know we are 9 months into the COVID pandemic, and all of you as employers know that this has been an incredibly hard time for companies and for workers. And so first, I just want to thank you for all the work you do every day to keep workers working and to keep all of your companies moving forward. What I'm going to talk about today is how businesses can use the Good Job Strategy to drive operational excellence in ways that can help you invest in people. Businesses have such a huge role to play in creating great jobs that can lower turnover, that can drive fantastic applicant pools, but businesses can't do it alone. Building financial health and stability for frontline workers takes a village, and that's why I think today is really special. I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that you can do as a company to drive great performance and great investment in people. And then you're going to have a chance to connect with incredible community resources who can support your workers around transportation, housing, childcare, all sorts of really critical and complicated issues that, again, take a village. Partnerships are more vital than ever, especially given the high unemployment, long lines at food banks, a lot of the really deep financial insecurity that families are facing right now and into 2021. So thrilled to be here today. When we work with companies, even before COVID hit, many would come to us and say, man, we're in a vicious cycle. We have really high turnover. And what that's driving is operational problems. So if you're in retail, those operational problems look like stockouts, dirty stores, poor customer service, inventory problems. If you're in restaurants, it could be a lot of food waste, slow service, inconsistent dishes. If you're in a call center, operational challenges look like long wait times, lots of high transfer rates, low first call resolution. Anyone in manufacturing, you're looking at material waste, backlogs, quality issues, lots of operational problems that separate your customers from what the service they want to access or the products they want to buy. So those operational problems drive lower sales and profit. And when a company is faced with lower sales and profit, they need to cut somewhere. And for all of you HR professionals, you know, the labor budget is big. It is easy to see results immediately if you cut there. So often companies will cut their labor budget, which in turn drives lower investment in people. And our research has shown when you have, really tight labor models, when you have lower investment in people, that drives a lot of operational problems. So companies end up in this vicious cycle, and it can be really hard to get out. And it hurts their investors, it hurts their customers, and it really hurts their employees. The good news is that a lot of companies have gotten out of this vicious cycle. So there's a lot of companies out there, and we highlight a few in the Good Job Strategy book, who are able to create really outsized value for their employees, for their customers, and for their investors. So the book highlights a couple of low margin grocers and convenience store companies, many of which you know. I'm sure many of you have visited a Costco, a Trader Joe's, or a Quick Trip. I don't know how well you know how to use Zoom. I think at this point we all know how to use Zoom pretty well, but you can use your reactions to raise your hand if you've been to any of the stores listed here. Great, I see some thumbs up. Excellent. So awesome. You guys know these companies. What you may not know is Costco, for instance, fantastic jobs. They start at $15 an hour. The average wage at Costco is more than $23 an hour. So these are fantastic jobs that could really help people support families. If you've shopped at Costco, customers love them and their investors love them. So between 2010 and 2020, Costco's stock price increased 492% compared to the S&P at 195%. Trader Joe's also pays higher than typical retail wages. Customers love them. And again, great performance. Anybody been to Quick Trip? You can raise your hands or give me a thumbs up. Well, I recommend you go. They're a gas station convenience store chain. They're based in Tulsa. And there was actually an article a couple of years ago that their night managers were making more money than teachers in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which again is perhaps an indictment on our education system, but also shows that they provide really great jobs for people. People drive out of their way to go to Quick Trip. They're clean, they're fast, they're friendly, and they're very profitable. So what is the secret of these companies that are able to create this kind of value for all of their stakeholders? In studying a wide range of companies, we have found that companies that are able to provide great jobs and great service, they've created an operating system that is designed to drive and leverage capable and motivated people. So they invest a lot in people, then they need a return on their investment. So they make a set of operational choices that help really drive productivity, motivation, and contribution. So what does that look like? That's what I'm going to tell you a little bit about today. I'm going to tell you about the good job strategy and how these operational choices come together with that core in the middle, that investment in people that we're also going to be talking so much about today. How all of these can drive really satisfied and loyal customers, motivated and capable employees, and investors who see high productivity, consistent execution, higher sales, lower cost. I'm going to go through each of the operational choices and a bit on invest in people and really talk about each of them. But this is really just sort of a preview. We've got about 25 minutes together today. I encourage you to go to our website to read the book. There's so much richness here. I just wanted to give you a snapshot into some of the innovations that you as employers can think about as you think about investing in people. All right. So in order to drive that great investment in people, to attract the right candidates, to reduce churn, this is what the best companies do. The first thing they do is focus and simplify. The best companies out there have a really strong strategic focus. They know why their customers come to them, and they make really hard trade-offs. They say no to things, right? They say, we can't be everything to everyone. We're going to be really good at a few things, and we're going to let some other things go. Once they decide what they're going to be best at, they simplify, simplify, simplify around that strategic focus. What does this mean in practice? How many of you have ever flown on Southwest Airlines? Anybody? All right, how was were you in first class? Did you get, the champagne experience? No, you're laughing because of course, that Southwest doesn't have first class, right? You may not even actually be able to sit next to your family members. They have chosen not to be luxurious. They've chosen not to always be convenient. Some of their airport hubs are in cities that are sort of not the biggest in an area. They've decided they want to have fantastic service, some great routes, and they want to be an affordable airline. And they've let things go, right? They've made really hard trade-offs. So that's one example that I know people are often really familiar with. But really understanding your customer, why they come to you, and then letting things go is hugely important. And then I think you'll all understand this: simplify, simplify, simplify. This looks like a lot of different things in a lot of different industries, but in retail, it often means reducing your product count. So Costco and Trader Joe's, they have 3,000 to 4,000 products in a store versus a traditional grocer that has maybe 40,000. Some of the big grocers and big department stores will have 100,000 products in their stores. And that's a lot. That's a big supply chain. That's a lot to organize in a back room. That's a lot of work. And so, we've seen companies, reduce their SKU count between 10 and 25% and see some great results for their employees and for their customers. And I'll tell you about that a little bit later. What other choices do people make around simplification? If you're in the restaurant industry, you may have read this over the course of COVID. A lot of restaurants are reducing their menu size, right? So really diverse menus can seem wonderful, but it's hard to be really good at making, 500 dishes. It makes your supply chain much more complicated. Your employees need to learn a lot more recipes. There's a lot more food waste. So, restaurants are really reducing to get to fantastic dishes. And guess what? Their employees love it because it's operationally more efficient, and their customers love it too because you're getting something really special. Tools, paperwork, reports. How many of you think you have not enough reports and paperwork? Anybody? Yeah. You know this. Tools proliferate, reports proliferate, communication proliferates, right? Really simplifying the number of tools, processes, reports, all of that can free up time for your frontline workers to be with your customers, to work on operations, to do all of that. So lots of things that you can focus and simplify around. That is the first operational choice. I hope you can see how that can start to drive great service and stronger operations. The second is standardize and empower. So, for so many industries, it's incredibly important to have standards, right? Retail is detail. Food safety is important in restaurant. You need restaurants. Safety is important, and quality in manufacturing. You have to have a set of standards so everyone knows the best practices, so you can measure, how long things are taking and build a labor model that works, so you can build and improve on this best practice. But man, you cannot legislate every single interaction that your frontline workers have. So you also have to empower workers. So what do each of these look like? There are very few companies we work with who don't have a set of standards. For most of them, they're just not alive, right? So Borders Books, they had like a 300-page tome of standards, right? And it would sit on a bookcase and it didn't really come alive in stores and people didn't really follow it. So you got to figure out what you want to standardize, and you should be standardizing processes and policies and manager procedures and communication. But for us, it's really about how you standardize. Got to be driven from the top, but also have to have a lot of feedback from your frontline workers, who are the ones who are actually executing these standards. So Mercadona, the Spanish supermarket, they have actually created a couple of roles, one called a process owner, who owns a set of standards. And they are constantly in stores talking to frontline workers, finding out, what are your workarounds? What have you discovered about these standards that can improve time or improve service? And they take those ideas and they integrate them back into the standards, and they're constantly updating them. So people feel buy-in, they feel that the standards reflect the real work, they understand the standards, and there's high consistency across their 1,000+ stores. So standardizing, all of these things are important, but the how is super important. Engaging your frontline workers, the answers are always in the stores, on the manufacturing floor. And then empowerment, right? So how can we make sure that our frontline workers can solve customer problems without having to call the manager, to call another manager, to create a long line? How can we make sure they're empowered to identify ways to improve our business? And there's lots of ways to do this. So many companies, especially in the retail space, they will set a dollar amount that their frontline workers can sort of have to solve customer problems. So not $1,000, but $10, $20. I think at Quick Trip, it might be 25. If someone's got a problem, if you can solve it with $25, go for it. Several convenience store chains that we work with have a really fun thing on their point of sale system. They have a make it right or delight the guest button, right? So let's say there was an extra long line and you can see a regular who's 5 back and they've just got their regular cup of coffee. Wave them on through, delight the guests, get them out of there, right? And if you can empower your frontline workers to do that, you're going to delight customers, you're going to smooth, lines and work, and you're going to create also a real sense of respect in your frontline workers' trust and judgment, which is incredibly important. Lots of ways, again, to sort of empower workers to give ideas. The Coca-Cola plant in Stockholm was having some problems in their bottling plant, and their managerial team came up with a couple of big projects that they were able to execute. But then they went to their frontline bottling plant workers and said, what's going wrong here? They came up with 1,700 ideas of how to improve that line, and that saved millions of dollars. Now, if you're Pepsi, your management team probably came up with some similar projects, right? But if you probably can't access those 1,700 ideas from your frontline workers unless you're really engaged. So lots of ways that empowering can help drive your business, drive respect for your customers, drive respect for your employees. Great. The third operational choice that companies make is cross-train. So this is fairly straightforward, but it's really hard to figure out sort of exactly what customer patterns are going to look like. It's great that your team can be cross-trained to customer and non-customer facing tasks. It, improves productivity, flexibility, gives your team some extra motivation. So you might not have noticed this, but Trader Joe's, their team switches roles about every 2 hours. So everybody knows how to use the cash register if there's a long line. Everybody gets to know each section really well. It's a pretty small store, so that's possible. And it keeps you motivated, right? You got a little something new happening every day. So that's cross-train. It's really about productivity, flexibility, and motivation. The final operational choice that great companies make is operate with Slack. This one is last for a reason. So operate with Slack means, of course, staffing a little bit higher than what you think you're going to need. And that can sound really expensive. But if you have a really focused strategy and you've simplified work and you've removed non-value add work, you can better operate with Slack, right? If you've standardized things, so you know how long tasks should take, it's easier to operate with Slack. If you've introduced great flexibility with empowerment and cross-training, it's easier to understand what your labor model should look like. So operate with Slack comes last, but the best companies really want to make sure that anytime their customers need them, they're there, and that they have the time to do really good inventory, to make sure that their business units are clean, and to make sure that their managers aren't just fighting fires all the time. So this is really important. If you're running a restaurant or a retailer, we spend a lot of time with companies large and small. We often see, really dynamic, brilliant managers on the cash register for hours on end because somebody called out. And that means that they don't get to build relationships with their suppliers, develop their people, greet their customers because they're just trying to fill holes. So operating with Slack allows your managers time to develop your business and your people. It gives your team time to really be there for customers. And all of that is incredibly important to productivity and to customer service. So these are some of the job design and operational choices that outstanding companies make. And they make them because they really want to drive productivity, contribution, and motivation so that they can invest more in people. So again, what does that investment in people look like? This is our employee pyramid, our employee needs pyramid. It's on our website, you can check it out. But we have found that work needs to provide for both basic needs and higher needs. Both are super important. That said, a lot of the turnover, a lot of the challenges in attracting people come from meeting those basic needs. So fair pay and benefits, stable, predictable, adequate hours and scheduling, clear career paths, safety and security. All of these are incredibly important aspects to making sure that your team is really ready to show up for work every day. And then there's really important higher needs that can drive productivity. Belonging, really feeling part of a team. Achievement, having the autonomy, the time, and the tools and the resources to do really great work. Recognition, setting a high expectations environment where everyone is coming to play every day and they're getting feedback and they're improving. Meaningfulness, that the work itself is meaningful and that you feel like you're really tied to something that makes a difference for people. And everything that we do makes a difference for people, right? But really making sure that you feel like your contribution is recognized. And personal growth, that you're growing every day, that you're problem solving every day. If you have a team that every single day is coming to work ready to solve problems for your business, you're going to grow and you're going to thrive. So all of this is incredibly important. But I think today we're likely especially focused on meeting some of those basic needs because a lot of entry-level workers, a lot of frontline workers are financially insecure in the United States. And this financial insecurity hurts workers and it hurts companies. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of research studies out there about the impact of financial insecurity on workers. So really significant mental and physical health impacts of financial insecurity. Heart disease, higher levels of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, all sorts of challenges with physical health when you are more financially insecure. Also impacts your mental health and your ability to focus and be present. It can lead to depression and anxiety. There's also really interesting research that shows that having a financial burden imposes a bandwidth tax that's equal to a loss of 13 IQ points, losing a full night's sleep. It gets people really, there's just a huge amount of stress. And what that means is that you can't be fully present for your family, and you're often not fully present at work to be that fantastic problem solver because you have so much stress. And it means it's really hard to meet your obligations today and in the future. And again, that's why I'm so excited for you to be connected to some of these great community resources. People who are living under sort of financial instability can be hard to make rent, hard to pay for your car, right? You pop a tire and you don't have $200 to fix that, you may not be able to get to work today. And that can be hard for you, and that's hard for your employer. Caring for your kids, your kid gets sick and you have to skip you don't have stable childcare and you can't get to work, you may be fired, and that just gets you again into a sort of a vicious cycle of unemployment and financial challenges. So you can see sort of what's happening for workers who are under financial stress. It's really hard for them, and it's really hard for them to show up at work and to be consistent, and that can drive that vicious cycle, right? So if there's a lot of absenteeism, a lot of people calling out, it can make things really hard. Go back to that, just to say, helping your employees be more financially secure, providing more resources for that is going to help them and their lives and their families. And it's also going to help with the stability of your organization, which is incredibly important. So I'm just about done, but I wanted to give you a couple of quick case studies of companies that have implemented this good job strategy, those operational choices and that investment in people. Costco, Trader Joe's is kind of built into their DNA. Quick Trip, they made a bunch of changes in the 90s that got them into this system. But there are companies today, even in the midst of COVID, who are implementing the good job strategy, and they're seeing success. So the first one is Mudbay, a pet food chain in the Pacific Northwest. They've got about 50 stores in Oregon and Washington. And between 2014 and 2017, they went through a good jobs implementation. So they invested in people. They increased wages 30% over the course of 3 years. They increased the number of employees working 30 hours or more. They really wanted to get this to be people's primary job, so they could provide fantastic service for all of their customers and the dogs and cats that are part of their family. Right? Okay, Tobin, Mudbay's amazing. I'm from Massachusetts. I just wish they were here, but I always visit when I'm there, mainly because there's always dogs. They created stronger benefits, and they created an ESOP. So they invested in people over the course of those 3 years really significantly. But they also made a set of operational choices that helped pay for that investment. So what did that look like? They reduced product variety by 15%, and therefore they were also able to reduce some prices, which made their customers very happy, right? So when you've got sort of fewer products, you may have a stronger negotiating relationship with suppliers. You may have sort of lower inventory costs. There's a lot of savings there. They removed non-value add work. They said, we got to stop doing some stuff. No more faxes, no more checks, no more special orders. Let's just stop doing some things. Let's simplify our returns, our stocking processes, lots of small changes that were saving time that they can reinvest into wages. They smoothed workload, and they actually ended up reducing hours in a way that their customers were still really happy with them. Their results have been fantastic. 35% improvement in turnover, sales per square foot and per labor hour going up, inventory turnover going up, and their same-store sales growth has grown. And for all of you in retail, you may know it's very hard to get a 4.5 or a 5 on Yelp. Almost all of their stores have that, and they get just love letters from people. So they're fantastic. We've written a case study about them that's online at MIT. I can also share that with Bradley, and he can share that with all of you. Very quickly, 2 more, because I think we want to get you to those community resources. Sam's Club has also been going through a good jobs implementation. They've raised wages significantly for a set of key roles, up to $5 to $7 an hour, provided more consistent scheduling, and increased their number of full-timers while making a set of operational choices that can, again, drive productivity, drive customer satisfaction, and help really drive a better business. They've reduced variety by 25%. They've made hard choices, hard trade-offs. They removed their photo centers. They've simplified and standardized and brought in technology that have made their workers more productive. And again, they're seeing some great results. Strong same-store sales growth, improved membership rates, and great reduction in turnover. Anybody in a call center environment? Okay, this is a great thing in a call center environment. Quest Diagnostics implemented the good job strategy. I'm going to go really quickly here, but they've seen fantastic results. We also have a case study on them at MIT, so encourage you to check out some of their work. So a good jobs journey is not easy, but it is so worth it. There is such a compelling business case for offering great jobs and making some of those operational choices that can drive productivity. There's a great financial case, and we have a lot of tools online. Check them out. We have a good jobs calculator for those in the retail and restaurant industry, where you can put in some of your own data and see how could good jobs drive, better revenue, lower costs. What could that look like? And it can actually, it's a financial model that'll give you a size of prize. I encourage you to check it out. Everything is fun and free online. There's a huge competitive reason to offer better jobs. It's hard to differentiate yourself out there, either in the labor market or with customers, when you have fantastic people and great investment in people and a great wraparound set of services that say you really care about your employees. You're going to attract better employees, the right employees, and you're going to keep them. And you're going to show customers a fantastic experience. And that's why they're coming to you, right? And it also allows you to adapt more. I can't imagine another year where we've had to adapt to more than 2020, right? So obviously the pandemic has thrown so much at companies. We have so many changing sort of labor laws. Florida just passed a 15% minimum wage. Lots of things are changing. The labor market is changing. When you have a team with lower turnover who's really excited to be there every day, they're your partners in adapting. And of course, there's a huge moral case for better jobs. You guys are all, in your work, and you have the great privilege to be able to offer jobs to people who are building their careers and who are supporting their families. And what you do is so incredibly important. I love this quote from John Furner, who's the current CEO of Walmart US. There's no better investment you can make than in the people you have on your team, who are serving the people who you want to reach every single day. So you have just incredible opportunities to create great jobs for people. And I'm so excited about the resources you're going to dive into today. But before we jump into those, I just wanted to say we've got a ton of stuff on our website. Please check it out. Lots of case studies, videos, free tools. Play around, check it out, and do reach out if you want to learn more. I'm always happy to do webinars with your team to talk to you about anything good jobs related. Offering great jobs is a fantastic way to drive good business, and reaching out and finding all the community resources that are available to help your employees get to financial stability can really help your business and help your workers. Thank you all so much.
Sarah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you talking to us about the Good Jobs journey. And this presentation, I think, was very insightful. And I think I speak for everyone in saying that this has been fantastic. If you could please put that information on the last slide in the comment or in the chat, that would be wonderful, because I'm sure there are some people that would like to engage with you further. So guys, attracting, developing, and retaining talent is a top priority for GLI. We know that for businesses to expand and grow, we must have a robust regional workforce. As my colleagues and I are out connecting with regional employers, it has become evident that COVID-19 has magnified barriers to work, possibly more than ever before. So to help alleviate these barriers, GLI is bringing together our community's greatest assets related to barriers to work, in hopes that by forming strategic partnerships with these organizations, you as the employers will be better equipped to attract and support entry-level workers. So with this being said, we're about to begin with our barrier breakout discussions. For the next 40 or so minutes, you will be hearing from a number of workforce assets in our community who focus their efforts on addressing barriers to work. These barriers include childcare, transportation, housing, digital access, justice involvement, addiction and recovery, as well as general wraparound services. Unfortunately, due to the nature of this virtual Zoom format, you will not have time to engage with all 7 barrier discussions. Instead, you will have the opportunity to participate in 3 separate breakout groups, each of which are going to last roughly 12 minutes. During this time, you will be learning about the services these organizations provide, while engaging in dialogue on how your organizations can work to address barriers in the workplace. Please note that each session will be recorded and be shared with participants in a follow-up email once our programming concludes. We've split each of you up amongst the 7 workforce barrier topics that I mentioned earlier, and you will be moving into these groups momentarily. Towards the end of this first round of discussions, you will see a pop-up appear at the top of your screen, which will notify you that time for group conversation and networking is coming to a close. From there, you will notice a breakout tab in the bottom right portion of your Zoom screen. Once you click that breakout tab, a list of barrier groups will then appear. When the final announcement appears on your screen, we ask that you select the next breakout discussion you would like to engage with. And if you have any issues in moving to groups, we have GLI representatives in each breakout group that will help you with your transitions. Please note that during our breakout discussions, we ask that you please keep your camera on, as we'd like to keep these sessions as engaging as possible. So with that being said, we will begin our first of 3 breakout rounds.